Hello, everyone. This is another Black Conservative. My name is Ryan Bowling. Thank you all for joining me. What I want to talk about today is an article I read from Breitbart News in reference to a statement given that stated, a Gallup poll rather, that was conducted that stated that Americans, or a certain segment of Americans, are extremely proud. A small number of a certain segment of Americans are extremely proud to be Americans, despite Joe Biden's attempt supposedly to restore the soul of America. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read just a small portion of that article, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to give you guys my reasoning for being proud to be an American. We know the 4th of July is coming up, and there's going to be a whole lot of anti-4th of July nonsense going forth. I'm not going to even get into that. I might talk about that in the middle of this video, and then I might not, depends on how things are flowing. But suffice it to say, I'm going to read a portion of that article, and then I'm going to read to you guys a portion of the Declaration of Independence and give you guys my reasoning why I personally am proud to be an American. Then I'm going to give you guys a small excerpt from one of the books that I purchased some years ago. You guys know which one it is because I showed it before, about the communist insurgents who infiltrated our country in the early 1900s and had certain goals, among them being the 45 different communist goals that some of them I've read to you guys in previous videos. And that one of those goals, I'm not going to say it now, one of those goals has a lot to do with a lot of Americans' hate for this country. So let's get right into this article. And it starts off, a record low number of U.S. adults report that they are, quote, extremely proud to be American, despite President Joe Biden's promise to, quote, restore the soul and to secure the future of America. Whose soul that he's restoring, and how is he securing the future of America? I do not know, but it certainly doesn't seem to be coming forth right now. I don't see any real physical or visible evidence that he is restoring the soul and securing the future of America. If you are securing the future of America, it's a future of destruction, in my opinion. The article goes on to say 38% say they are, quote, extremely proud to be an American, which is the lowest percentage since Gallup began tracking the trend in 2001. Still, 65% of adults polled say they are either, quote, extremely or, quote, very proud of the nation. 27% are very proud, and 22% are moderately proud. 9% are only a little, and 4% are not at all proud. 4% is a very low number, and that's a good thing, as according to this Gallup poll. Now, that doesn't mean this Gallup poll is absolutely accurate, but it does do at least indicate or show to some extent the numbers of people who believe these type of worldviews. The article goes on to say this record low level of extreme national pride comes at a challenging time in the U.S. as a pandemic-weary public is struggling with the highest U.S. inflation rate in more than 4 decades, Gallup stated. That's terrible. Noting that the poll was conducted after the Buffalo and school mass shooting, but before the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. The current 38% expressing extreme pride is well below the 55% trend average and 80%, quote, extremely or very proud average. The combined 65% who are extremely or very proud was 2 points lower in 2020, according to the survey. The highest reading occurred after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Now, I want to read a little bit more here, and I'm going to go on to my reasoning of why I personally am proud to be an American. While Republicans consistently outpaced Democrats and independents since 2001 and still do today, the GOP's recording of, quote, extreme national pride is at its lowest point in the trend, 58%. Independence extreme pride is also at its lowest point on record, 34%. So this is not a good picture at all. As we can very well see, you looking at these numbers and reading these numbers, this suggests that this is not a good Gallup poll at all. I mean, obviously it's not good at all. I mean, it shows a very low percentage of people who are extremely proud to be Americans. But you have to ask the question, why? Why is it that there's such a low number of people that seem to be extremely proud to be American? Why is that number so low? And what I suggest to you guys, in my opinion, is that I think one of the reasons for that, excuse me, is because of what the Joe Biden and his administration is pushing. Many people, and I've hear this on my job quite often from employees, many people are embarrassed under the Biden administration, particularly those that had voted for him, hoping that he would change things up, supposedly, whatever that's supposed to mean. But many people are embarrassed by him. You know, look at the military. Military, instead of trying to develop our soldiers to be fighters and warriors, they're more concerned about transgender rights. And while you have other countries like China and Russia and others pumping their soldiers and their military up to be true fighters and warriors, America here is more concerned, American military here is more concerned about LGBTQ rights, having bullets on their hats with the multicolors and so forth. I've seen pictures of it. And to a lot of Americans, that's embarrassing. And it causes them to be less proud to be an American rather than to be proud of it. But they're embarrassed. They're like, I don't want to, I feel like a fool. On the world scene, we look like idiots, like weaklings because of our leadership. A lot of this depends on your leadership. When your leaders push true American values, the way I see it, and the way a vast majority of Americans see it, when they push true American values, then Americans tend to be proud. But here's another thing that I wanted to point out. That I think that a significant number of Americans are not proud to be Americans because a lot of Americans don't know what the Constitution says, what the Declaration of Independence says, and what the Bill of Rights says. A lot of people are not aware of these documents, at least to an extensive point of view. They're not really aware, have heard of it, but they're not really aware of it. You hear politicians all the time, especially Democrats, get on there and say things like, our democracy is in danger. You know, our democracy is in danger because of what the Republicans are doing, because of what these conservatives are doing. Our democracy is in danger. Our democracy. When in reality, America is not a democracy. It's a constitutional republic. It's a republic, a constitutional republic. It's not a democracy. But they throw those terms out there because they know a significant number of Americans don't really know the Constitution or don't read up on the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence or the Bill of Rights. They're going about their life. They're not thinking about any of that. But in the meantime, these lying politicians, especially the liberals, get on there and throw that stuff out there, knowing that these people don't know, knowing these people are not going to do their own research. But having said all of that, let me get into what I personally believe and why I am personally proud to be an American. I am proud to be an American for different reasons. I'm proud to be an American based on what the Declaration of Independence says, based on what the Constitution says, and based on the Bill of Rights. Now, I want to read something to you guys here from a booklet that some of you might have. And I read this every now and then. I take it with me. It's pocket size. Got it from Amazon. It's awesome. It has the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence all together, rolled in one. And it also has the Bill of Rights in here too. It also has the Bill of Rights in here as well. And then at the back it gives a glossary of different terms and so forth. So it's an excellent little book you can take with you wherever you go. And every now and then you want to read and study up on the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, you can do so. And so I want to read to you guys just a small excerpt from the beginning of the Declaration of Independence, explaining to you guys why I'm personally proud to be an American, and why I believe that a vast majority of Americans who don't really look into this are clueless as to what makes America, America. Okay, let me read this to you. And we've all heard this. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their creator with certain unalienable rights. First and foremost, let me say something right here. When the founders and the writers of the Declaration of Independence wrote this portion here about the creator, they were referring to God. Why? Because a significant number of the founders did have Christian beliefs. A lot of them weren't Christian in the biblical sense, but they had Christian worldviews. They had biblical worldviews that were alongside their own views. Some of these founders were deists. Some of them were Illuminati members. Some of them were high-level Masons. But a lot of their teachings and trainings was taken from institutions and universities that taught the Bible, like Yale University, Princeton University. Most of those universities were Christian based. And a lot of these founders attended these universities and received training in the Bible. And that training influenced their perceptions of their worldview when they wrote the Declaration of Independence, when they wrote the Constitution, and when they wrote the Bill of Rights. Now, let's go on. He says, by their creator with certain unalienable rights. And what this also indicates is that our rights are given to us by God, not the government. One of the reasons why I'm proud to be an American is because according to the Declaration of Independence, my rights are given to me by God, not the government. Therefore, the government cannot take my rights, theoretically speaking. They cannot take your rights from you because why? God gave you your rights, not the government. Now, if you go to those other countries, like in certain places in Europe that have been taken over by communists and socialists, the rights that's given to you are given to you by the government, which means if the government gives you these rights, that means that they can take your rights from you. But according to the Declaration of Independence, no, your rights are given to you by God. That's what makes America, one of the things that makes America distinct and different is that your rights are given to you by God, not the government. So theoretically, they can't take your rights from you. It goes on to say that among these rights are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So those rights are, you have the right to your life. You have the right to liberty, which is freedom. You're free to choose your course in life. You're free to choose to be whatever you want to be. If you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, be whatever you want to be. You don't have to worry about the government trying to dictate your course in life. You are free to do that in America. To be whatever you want to be. And the pursuit of happiness. Whatever makes you happy, you're free to do that. If it's not infringing on anybody else's rights, if it's not hurting anyone else, you are free to do that at this point in time in America. You're free to do that. That's why so many people from other countries, and y'all know I'm going to say that, from other countries flee here, risking life and limb to be a part of this country. Why? Because of the freedoms that we have. They could choose their course in life. Okay? Then it says that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, derive their just powers from the consent of the governed. In other words, the government of the American government is designed particularly to make sure that your rights given to you by God are protected. The government's job in America is to protect your rights, not take your rights from you. But you got a lot of politicians in office right now that little bit at a time, bit by bit, through legislation, is stripping your rights from you. People don't know their rights until their rights are taken from them. And when their rights are taken from them, they're going to wake up one morning and say, how in the world it got to the point where I can't go to church and worship God like I want to? How in the world did it get to the point where I don't have the freedom to say what I want to say? You know, I don't have freedom of speech to express my opinion. How in the world did it get to that point? It got to that point because we didn't understand the Declaration of Independence and didn't take the time to study and dig deep for our own selves. These politicians, these nefarious, evil, communist politicians, bit by bit, little bit at a time, created legislation that slowly took our rights from us. That's why. So, and this is that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government. That's that on that. When the government gets to the point where they're out of line, we the people have the right to abolish that government or institute new government. We do that through the election process. But in order for us to do that through the election process, we have to be informed about the policies of the people that's coming into office and that's trying to vie to get into office? Are their policies conducive to the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights? Now, let me read you something here that I personally believe is the reason why so many Americans are basically ignorant or basically hateful towards the American government or hateful towards America at all. Why are so many Americans hateful towards America? Why do they hate America? I'm going to give you my reason and why I believe that might be the case. And I'm going to read to you out of this book here. You all going to know this book, the 45 different communist goals that were set forth at the beginning of the beginning of in the 1960s, written by a former FBI agent, and he's listed 45 communist goals. And let me read you just 3 of these goals that may explain why so many people in our country hate this country. Goal number 29, discredit the American Constitution. By calling it inadequate, old-fashioned, out of step with modern needs, a hindrance to cooperation between nations on a worldwide basis. Goal number 30, discredit the American founding fathers, present them as selfish aristocrats who had no concern for the common man. And goal number 31, belittle all forms of American culture and discourage the teaching of American history on the grounds that it was only a minor part of the big picture. Give emphasis to Russian history since the communists took over. This is in the 1960s when he wrote this. These are part of the communist goals that's been set forth. Now you may be saying, what does that have to do with anything? Well, what I've just read to you, you probably can figure that out. These communists infiltrated every institution in our country, the political scene, the entertainment industry, the religion, and the school systems. So many of the school teachers inherited these communist worldviews to demonize America and make it look terrible among the students, to demonize it. So now you get students and young people growing up with a hatred towards America. So that's part of the reason why so many Americans hate America, because they've been indoctrinated to hate America by these communist insurgents. But the way we combat that is what I just read in the Constitution. We educate ourselves on the Declaration of Independence. We educate ourselves on the Constitution. We educate ourselves on the Bill of Rights. That is the foundation of this country. And for me, that's what makes me proud to be an American. I'm proud that I can go and worship in my church like I want to worship. I'm proud that I have at this present time the freedom to give my opinion whenever I want to give it and don't have to worry about some communist coming in my house and shooting me down. I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I can at this time am free to have firearms. I'm proud of that at this moment. So I'm thankful and proud to be an American. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the comment section below. If you like, share, and subscribe to this video. God bless you all, and see you again on another Black Conservative.